and we are going to turn all things over to Trisha. I'm just here to press buttons and yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I wanted to just say the first thing, like right off the bat, I really feel like it is amazing that we have slowed things down and we're doing a deep dive. And so a lot of the reasons why we slowed things down was because we wanted to actually give everyone the opportunity to think through the things that they are saying, that's been said, think through the action steps and write down some things that you're sensing in your personal development, in your business, that sort of thing. And so I just wanted to say this book club is going to be most valuable if people share. So I don't want to do all the talking. I think we're going to glean so much more from each other if we kind of work through some of the steps and have a lot of, okay, well, this is where I'm at. This is what I thought in this moment. So please, please, please unmute yourself if you've got something to share. We want to hear you today. And we're actually going to grow a whole lot more when each of us kind of shares our perspective. So that's my challenge for everybody.
I love it. I love it. And I'm just going to interject
take off your mic.
Because I see Sherry is sitting here, even she's not on the road yet. And she threatened or promised, I'm not sure which one, that she was going to ask a question off the hop about last week. And I know I'm putting her on the spot, but I just thought, I know that there was some talk in the chat about, people doing the homework from last week. And like Trisha was saying, we're going to grow the most when we share. So Sherry, do you have a question? Trisha, do you have a question from last week? Does anybody want to share anything? Oh, Sherry, you're muted. Sherry, you're muted. There.
I will just say, because I am going to be on the road, and so I won't probably get to engage after that. That doing the work made all the difference. So I saw a number of you commented that you'd done the work for chapters 1 to 3. And when we're talking about that action step, that long-term goal, I think it leads right into our vision and our ability to cast a vision for people. So yes, I'm going to start right off, and then Trish is going to be, it's all Trish with, did you do the action steps from chapter 3? Did you write down your long-term statement? So I know I had some difficulty with the goals. So some difficulties. I can do a 6-month or a 1-year goal pretty good. But when I start looking at 10-year goals, yeah, I struggle a little more. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to hear anybody share I am statements. Either unmute and share them or share them by writing in the chat. I think that would be a great way to start.
I can go first. I think I shared a little bit last week that when I was at Gold School, I put down $5,000 initially. And that was my initial amount. And then as we got further on into the training, I realized that wasn't a big enough dream. So I think for me, I know some people who are in the business, diamond's not your goal. I would love to get to diamonds. I think that would be just open up so many doors to not have worry in the future, to be able to bless others. But I think if I were to do a 5-year income goal for me, which would be on the way to diamond, would be that $10,000 a month. So around that emerald. And so then my short-term goal, kind of like a push goal. So I've kind of been in and around that gold, senior gold, back and forth, this and that. So that's just under $1,000 a month, around anywhere between probably more like 6 and 8 a month. And I I pay for my products, right? With that, I pay for my family's products. And that's kind of where we've been at, but where we're at now as a family, I think like anybody else is feeling with the inflation is I need this business to create some income that actually adds to our month and not just pays for our supplements, which I'm really grateful for. Like the supplements have changed our family's life. And so that really is the first step in being in this process is it's impacted my family's life. But yeah, so my short-term goal, 3 to 6 months, is I want to double that. Anywhere between, $1,500 to $2,000 a month would be my 3 to 6 month push goal. Anybody else willing to share?
That's great. I love that. I love how you articulated that too, Trisha.
Oh, thank you. I was rambling.
No, you weren't. Your picture is frozen, so we don't get to see you being animated, but
That
that's
is
okay.
really weird.
It is
Okay.
weird. You know what?
Shoot,
Try
I didn't
turning your
even
video
notice
off
that.
and turn it back on again and see if that helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No. Let's see. There you are. There you
Hello.
are. That's great. Awesome. I'd love to hear other people's too. We did a small group training and they were talking about silence. And they said, when is silence good and when is silence bad? Like silence is good when you're waiting and you're giving space for people to think and be brave enough to press the unmute button.
Yeah, and one of those things too that really spoke to me. I think it may be on further on in one of the chapters, or it might actually be a John Maxwell thing that I read. I don't know. But leaders go first. And it was interesting because I reflected on myself as a leader, even in my education. And we had this kind of retreat last week where we had some time to worship together and meditate because I'm at a Christian school. And we had some verses to meditate on, and we actually were given some time in silence to think and ponder Psalm 139. And then we came back and they said, we're just going to open this up to share. And I didn't share right away. And the longer I waited, the harder it was to share. And in the end, I didn't share. And I was actually really angry with myself because I'm like, I had good things to say. And then I didn't say them. And why did I do that? And so after that, I read, I forget which chapter it is. I'm pretty sure it's in this book, but leaders go first, they lead the way. And that's a John Maxwell thing too. And so I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen again. So we are here. If this is not your time to share, please share at some other point. But yeah, like I think we get in our head, and wait. And then the waiting gets us in our head even more. And I think sometimes the easiest thing is to just say it.
Okay, so I'll give a couple of mine because I had to write them down and find my paper. I am a leader. I am becoming a leader of leaders.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I actually was like, with those I am statements, I feel like this week in, sharing the businesses and stuff like that and getting either some no's or some ghosts or whatever like that, there were moments in my week where I was like, am I even capable of doing this? Like, Do I have the skills to do that? And so my number one thing that I put in my I am statements is I am capable of finding leaders. Like I have the ability to do this. And so yeah, it's that awareness of what are we saying to ourselves, and we got to get out of our way. And I definitely had some thoughts where I was questioning, am I even capable of finding leaders? So I need to change that narrative. I am capable of finding leaders. I have valuable ideas to share. I love that I am becoming a leader of leaders, like Amy said. And that's from the book. I love that I'm becoming a leader of leaders.
So I'm also, oh, Janice put one in there. She says, I'm capable. I'm not too old. Indeed, you are not. I am a
Yeah.
leader. I am confident.
I
Awesome.
put I am confident. Confidence came out somewhere for me too. Even in just the daily, I'm inspiring others to improve their wellness. I'm inspiring others to improve their finances. And here's another thing. I am someone who does things scared. That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
I think I need to step out and do things scared more often.
I put in the comments that I'm overcoming my fears.
Yeah.
I'm reading another.
Yeah,
course.
totally.
I'm going through another course actually right now, just through our church. And that was one of the things that was really resonant with me last week, like at the end of the month. So how far are we into September? It was last week. But one of the points in here that like they're talking about fears, which was the chapter we were on. There were 3 points, and it was really helpful for me just thinking about moving forward. And it was overcoming your fears will involve redemptive suffering, which isn't always something that we think of. We're like, yes, redemptive suffering. Woohoo! Let's go. That's great. Great news. Okay, but it's redemptive, right? So it's okay. And then overcoming fears will involve surrender. But the last one here was so empowering. Overcoming your fears always involves action. And so it just really encouraged me to take action this week in a different way. And that, fear doesn't have to have a handle on us. And fear can creep in so many different ways. Like we can not even see it. We might have not even realized that we were afraid of certain things. That's why it's just so important to continue to press into growth and learning and just awareness. So that was mine. I know that
Janelle, what pages were those on?
Oh no, that
what
was in the
page?
book that I'm reading.
Oh,
different one.
the book you're reading,
I'm reading
right?
a book called Soul Care. I highly recommend the course. It's very good. We're doing it through our church. Or
Okay.
I'm through my church. Janelle had said, I am determined. I can take pictures of those too. I mean, it's a little bit out of context, but I think we can probably glean from it too. Sherry said, confidence is developed as we keep our promises to ourselves every day. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things I know for myself, like one of those narratives that I took almost from the beginning was I am someone who doesn't quit. So this business has so many ups and downs, and it's a roller coaster ride. And that was one of the things that stood out to me right from the beginning is the only way you fail is if you quit.
Yeah.
And so I am not a quitter. And if you think about that, when we're talking about a personal development plan, if that we're kind of ready to move into chapter 4,
Yeah.
He says, like, that's a combination of 2 words. You're developing yourself as a person. It's looking at who you are right now and who you need to become in order to achieve your goals and dreams, which is pretty amazing. I love that. I think for me, I have been someone who he describes as just, checking off the activities and making sure it's done, but there needs to be a shift here in what we're focusing on. Like on page 60, he says, what are the activities I have to do? That's what distributors focus on. But instead, he says, leaders focus on who is the person I need to become in order to build the team I want.
Right.
Yeah. And so even building the team you want, people are watching. And you don't know it.
Yeah.
And they're looking to see if you quit. Is this something she's going to stick with? And so every moment we show up on social media, or every moment we even just send that, hey, I was thinking of you, how are you doing? That's building belief in the fact that you are a leader, because that is part of who you are becoming. You are consistent. You are showing that you care, and you are sharing light and value consistently. And so over time, that focus on, okay, well, who do I need to become, builds trust. So I think a little bit further down, it says, here's the important part. You need to do more than just study and learn. You need to implement, you need to become. It's not an information gathering plan. It's a personal development plan. And so that really hit me. I am a teacher and I learn and I read. And even in some of my educational reading, it's been information gathering. Have I really put into practice what I've read? So I think what's really important is this slowing down. That's what I really appreciate here, that we were able to slow down. So he went into like the 52 books and how he's like, yeah, I might skim 52 books, but I deep dive into those that are important, and then find resources that help fill the gap for where we want to be. And I thought that was really interesting. Find resources to fill the gap. So I don't know. I don't think we need to go into how he did, but are we okay with jumping to page 61? Like
Yeah.
those, I feel like the people that the leaders we look to in this company and leaders we admire, that's one of the resources that we can use to help fill the gap from where we are and where we want to be. So it says start jotting down. So this is some of the action steps. Start jotting down leaders in the company that you admire. And we did that in chapter 1, right? I think.
There was
And
one.
list and list the qualities that you admire in most of those leaders. So I would love to hear everybody's, like, even just one person that you look to and why you admire them. So I can go first. Oh, where's my page?
I have one.
Oh,
that
perfect. Janelle, love it.
I love following Amber Miller. I have no urge to homestead and raise cows, but I am so invested in watching her day-to-day life and watching her homeschool and stuff. And I'm like, so not what I wanted to do with my life, but how she shares, I just love it. She's so authentic. And so just like, I feel like I'm there in her kitchen with her or in the barn with her while she's sharing.
Thank you for that, Janelle. Like, I think I have her, but I never pay attention to her feed. So yeah, like even just going back and some of the people that I looked at, like I do see pop up more often. Like I clearly see Emily Roberts. She's for whatever reasons, she pops up a lot. It must be that I click on her. But I love how Emily is just direct. She calls it as it is. And that also makes her relatable.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I don't follow I follow Brenda Martin, but once again, I don't look at her all the time. But in doing this activity, I went back and looked at their Instagram accounts, and like Brenda doesn't really post product info.
No.
And a lot of these people don't. It's not about product info, it's about life. And her life is, like one of the ones is, this is what I do. I raise 11 kids. I run a network marketing business. I do homeschooling, and I do all this without drinking coffee or taking a nap in the afternoon. If you need energy and want to learn how I've got it, message me in the comments. And I'm like, okay, that's actually powerful in my opinion. Right? So real life, really relatable. I love Jessica Heffley because of her Christian kind of focus and like just inspiring people to become better. Yeah, in terms of like the coaching tips, the Christian coaching, that sort of thing.
Bridget Kroll.
I-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna go a little closer to home. It's Shannon, who I admire. What that woman, has dealt with in her life and her Christian faith, and how she inspires others and is giving. And I just have great respect for her.
Mm.
And love what she shares too on her Instagram feed and her posts.
Yeah, like she shares the challenges that she's gone through, and how her faith is holding her, right? And keeping her going.
Mm-hmm.
Very real.
Yeah. Totally.
Janelle, I love your lives. I love like your talking, your videos, you're just always on there and just chatting. I don't even know where you come up with the things to say.
My
But
backside, maybe a little bit.
what's that?
Pulling them out of my backside. No.
So I find you're very relatable, and yeah, that ended up being one of the goals for me, is to just show my face and talk to my people. That's a gap that I need to bridge.
Can I just say something with that? I look back in my archive and totally cringe on the first times that I did talk to my phone, because the angle was wrong and the lighting was wrong and the words were wrong and I talked too much and all the things. But you have to go through that in order to get to a place where I appreciate that you think that it's valuable. Some days I'm still like, I said nothing of consequence there, but that's okay. People are getting to know what it's like to listen to me ramble. It's fine. Yeah. I was going to say someone I love is Bridget Kroll. And I have so much respect for her and their family. And she is BK. I have to look her up because she's I am also, of course, a reformed BK is what she is. But I'm also loving following Marge and her crazy farm and just how she's integrating all of that, all of life there. And you know what, honestly, people I love following the most are the people I've seen grow. So Sheila Cron, watching how she has come through all of the things. I'm loving watching that. And really it's the people, and I have to remind myself of this. It's the people that share their life stories through the day that I latch onto. I'm like, oh, I've got to go see what Celeste is doing. Oh, I've got to go see how she's sharing this from where she is. I've got to, like, because you know that it's sprinkled in, right? I also look forward to seeing Janelle's gratitude posts every day. I really, really do.
Totally.
They add so much value to me.
Yeah. I love those too.
And I will just shout out Linda, your lives. I love that you do those because I know you were not comfortable doing them at least at the beginning. And it just encourages me to do things that I'm afraid of. Because I'm like, I understand. Linda and I have talked about it. I know how much she doesn't want to put herself out there necessarily when she's thinking about it on the inside, but she does it because she loves people and she wants to grow and she wants to grow her business and she wants to impact lives. And I see that because I have the backstory. It hits different when you have the backstory.
Anyone else want to share? So the next part then was to kind of take those characteristics of the people that you admire and then make a list of them and do a gut check. He said, now it's time to take an honest gut check. Where are you right now? Rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 for each of the qualities you're looking to grow into. Get a clear understanding of where you are today and where you want to be. You take the inventory so you can see the gap. Once you see the gap, you know where you need to improve, and your improvement plan covers the distance between where you are currently and where you want to be. So I struggled with this one. I wrote down up to close to 10 kind of characteristics that either came from the people that I admire or even just some characteristics that I needed, some characteristics that I actually thought I did well in. Because all the ones that I was looking at, oh, I need to improve that. Oh, I need to improve that. So anyways, I wrote down relatable and courageous and being direct and inspiring. I also follow a little bit of Brittany Howard and Christina Williams. And I feel like in all of these ladies, that's what came out of this is I actually want to be watching them more closely to learn. Because even just going through Brittany Howard's, what she had posted recently, I'm like, oh, that's so valuable. And I could use that and make it my own. And so, yeah, so but their systems thinking, I think, is fabulous. Confidence, self-talk, consistency, being intentional, being informational, and even God-focused. Those were some of the things that came out. And for a lot of them, I was rating myself as a 5 or a 6. I think I've worked on self-talk. I can improve on that, but I think I'm working on that. So that's improving. I think consistency is good for me. Informational, I think I got that one covered. That's where I actually need to pull off and be more relatable rather than informational. And I think even for me, like intentionality, I've been working on doing more time blocking, doing more kind of planning ahead, planning my posts, and that's growth for me, because it used to be like fly by the seat of my pants and what do I want to post today? And then you get that panic feeling of, where am I going to find it? So definitely, as I'm interacting on my social media, if I find something that I like, I screenshot it or save it or whatever, and then put it into one of my folders for, okay, well, that's a motivational thing that I can expand on, or that's a wellness tip I'd love to give, or, those sorts of things. So, yeah, this is me rambling. Anybody want to share what their list was, or how you think you're doing?
Couple things that I'm going to try to figure out, because I don't have a cell phone. I just use a tablet. So
Oh.
I love the shock on your face, Trisha. I'm a bit of a rebel that way. So I don't always have something to pull out and snap a shot or a video or things like that as I'm going through my day. So I really have to be intentional and go, okay, take a picture of this or a video of this when I'm around with my tablet, so that I can share that. And because a lot of times, like, my son and daughter-in-law were here last weekend for a surprise visit, and I didn't get any pictures. We were just too busy having fun out and about and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I could have shared about that, but I have nothing to show about that. So I need to try to sort of figure out, because I'm still the rebel and don't want to get a cell phone. So
Good
that's
for you,
kind of-
Janelle. Right? Like, you do you. We do not have to conform to the patterns of this world if we don't want to. So
Well, and there are
I
other
love
ways.
that.
There are other ways to do that too. Like it is possible, if this size of device is easier for you to put in your pocket, it's essentially the same as your tablet, but you don't have to have it hooked up to anything, right? It's just a pocket-sized tablet that works as a camera for your business, right? So you might be able to find something that, somebody's old phone or whatever, or get Kelly to take pictures. That's another thing. Get Kelly, he's got a phone. Get Kelly to take pictures and he can send them to you. You know what? You need to start training him as a proper Plexus husband, because picture taking is real. Like, they need to be trained on this. I always joke, Nolan's 3 jobs when we are at an event: take pictures, steer, because I'm usually trying to figure out where everybody else is. And I'm usually standing with my walking like this, and he's supposed to steer me through crowds and tell me to shut up, sit down, and eat something. 3 jobs. It's very simple.
I was going to ask if Nolan gives lessons.
Oh, he could probably tell you, and he'll tell you, like, that if he's remembering, you take no less than eight pictures of the same frame. Yeah, well, yeah, Amy, feed Janelle. Yeah, it's the sit down, shut up, and eat something. That's the 3rd step. Yeah. Yeah. So you totally can, or like, get a camera. But having somebody else with the whole mentality of capturing things for you could end up with a ton of amazing candid stuff.
Yeah. Or you can take your iPad, get a purse that carries your iPad wherever you go.
You need a new purse. You need a new purse.
So
Go. I love it.
I do definitely think my family's getting more used to me just pulling out my camera. Okay, we need to capture this. And then sometimes it comes out, we don't want this posted, Mom. This is just to capture the moment, right? So sometimes there's those clarifications.
And this is totally an aside, but you can utilize your family to help you. I took pictures a couple days ago. I don't know what day it was. Kids were still home, so it had to have been Monday because I did a post I was like, I don't have any good, like, newer pictures of me, and I want to do one on a post, and I don't have a tripod right now. So I grabbed a child and I took him outside and he helped me. He took pictures for me and they were amazing. They worked so well. Like, do that. It's good. It's good. They can do that for you.
So Janice is asking, what do you use to do your lives, like your selfies? So you have a tripod, Janelle?
No, I usually build things.
Like that was me the other day. I had my kettle on top of a book on my counter that allowed my phone to sit on top of the book and lean up against the kettle.
Yeah. Yeah. So every morning
Is
you
that what you're
see me
talking about?
Every morning that you see me mixing up my pink drink, I've gotten a tower, a base tower, a cup with a lid or something like that. And I've got my phone set up at a certain height, leaning against my, because I want mine higher than lower, because it's just, for me, the angle is better. I did buy, I'm trying to, my office is still very much torn apart, but I did buy a suction cup holder for my phone. And it sticks. Oh, you've still got that. I do have that somewhere. That
So
was
this was one of the first incentives that I actually earned.
I do have one of those. Where it is.
And initially I was like, why do I need this?
Yep.
And yeah, you know what? Honestly, I actually haven't used it as much as I probably could have because it doesn't fit my phone going up and down, like going portrait.
Yeah.
It only fits landscape.
And
But
to be honest, I think I probably just need to like bite the bullet and buy a new one, because here, hold on, let me just see. I know that this is totally not on topic. Okay, so I used to pack this. This used to be on a tripod, and my wonderful people thought that it came off and it snapped in the back of the vehicle because somebody was packing it. And usually I just took it apart. I literally took this with me to Hawaii one year. So that like it that the other parts came apart, but the part that, yeah, so now this just kind of sits behind my computer to give me better lighting. But these are not that expensive. They're really not, and they're fairly easy to get. And I do need to get one because you can get them to come up to almost like, I think 5 or 6 feet. And for $40 or something, 23 or something, if that's what's standing in your way, fear is a funny thing, right? When we start to ask ourselves, like, well, what if I showed up on social media more? Well, I don't know how to take a picture. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. And you're afraid because you don't know, instead of finding a simple solution to support moving forward. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that wasn't that hard.
yeah.
But I'm not fancy, Janice. I literally, you should see some of the towers I've built. That's
Yep.
Duplo.
Okay,
I don't
so-
know why I've never thought about using Duplo. I've got Duplo blocks in the basement. I should just build myself a nice little stand. Goodness.
Yep.
Okay, back on top.
Totally. I really liked the how to bridge the gap on page 62. And even for me, once again, when I first read it, I was like, what does he mean here? And then as I pondered it, I did a little deeper dive, had time to do that. I was like, oh, I think I know what he means. So how do you bridge the gap? It says, it doesn't matter what you're willing to do. People are willing to do a lot. And he goes on to say, the real question is, what's the piece that you're not willing to do? When you figure out what's on your I'm not willing to do that list, you're well on your way to putting together a personal development plan. If you want success at the highest level, you have to get your I'm not willing to do that list as close to as possible to 0. So I struggled with that. I'm like, what does he mean by getting my I'm not willing to do that list as close to possible to 0? And I think for me, tell me, I mean, I'd love to hear a variety of perspectives on what you thought that was, but for me, I thought that was, here's what I'm not willing to do right now, but I'm willing to work on it so that it becomes a 0. Is that kind of what that means?
Yeah. I think, and I think that this is such a valuable thought process to go through, because it's not just, okay, I've identified what I'm not willing to do. And then the question is, why? Why are you not willing to do that? Is it because you don't want it bad enough? What is the negative outcome or the negative feeling surrounding this thing that you're not willing to do, that you know will push the needle forward for you? Why isn't your why strong enough to counteract that? And you may actually have to dig deeper into all of those layers when you hit something where you're like, I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah.
It's sort of like we talk about, you need to hit the point where your discomfort in staying the same outweighs your discomfort of change.
Yeah. Because one of the things when I first read this, was, well, clearly I'm not willing to sacrifice my family or my workouts. Like I was trying to figure out, like, what is the not willing to do? That was like my first thought. And then as I read through it again, actually, when I listened to it, that's what I thought. And then as I read through the book, I was like, what have I in my business not been willing to do? And so if I ask, like, for example, it's been on my list to do more lives, to talk on the camera more. And do I do it? No, I do not. And so clearly I have not been willing to do that. So then I
The
need
other
to ask,
part too is that, do you believe that this will actually change things for you?
right.
So can I use this as an example? Trisha, do you believe that showing more of who you are and being vulnerable and talking, do you believe that that would attract more people to you?
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's the belief to sit in when you're like, oh, I should really do a live on this. Yes, because it's going to connect more people to me in different ways. Right.
Mhm.
And it has to trump the fear of, oh, I'm not wearing the right thing, or maybe the lighting isn't good, or I really don't know what I'm going to say, or I'm going to feel stupid and I'm just talking to my phone and somebody. And then if you guys ever watch influencers, like, I don't want to say influencers in the wild, but influencers who actually go to stores and they're walking through talking to their phone. Have you ever thought about doing that? I mean, I've done it and you do feel a little silly. But if you were like, if I do this, I get to make $8,000 a month. This, walking through a store, if you walk through, Janelle's like, are you kidding me? If you walk through HomeSense and you needed to talk to your phone like this and do a video because it would just make perfect sense and connect you with your audience, and you knew that this was the gateway to making 10 grand a month, would you do it? Linda's like, yeah, I would. So where's the belief piece? Where is the belief piece? Like, where is the next level? What if I leveled up? I know this isn't a question from the book, but if I were to progress to the next level of my personal growth, my leadership growth, my business development, my online presence, what is that next level? What is one step above where I'm at now? What would I be doing? You have to
I feel like that's one of the things for me, right? Is getting live on camera, showing my face more often, rather than once again posting information. You know, I'm consistent on that, but actually people seeing me real and live is definitely my next step. Why do I not do that? I think you said 2 words, fear and vulnerability. Maybe another one is I know that there have been times where I'm like, okay, today's my day. I'm gonna do it. And then I get to it and I'm like, what am I gonna talk about? And then I get in my head and I say, well, I don't have anything to say. What am I gonna say? And I just move on.
Yeah. You know what I think happens for me anyway, and this is just me vulnerably sharing. If I get onto my phone first thing in the morning, or like when I embark on my phone and I open social media, if I do not go on there already knowing what I want to share, knowing what I want to say, having a vision for the day, if I don't go on there with that in my mind already, all the other voices start. So if you want to know truly what you should say, starting at the beginning of the day, go on with your thoughts before somebody else pollutes them.
It's kind of that same thing that I was saying, like as a leader, we are the ones to step out first, right? And it's easier to step out right away because as soon as you hesitate, there's a thought.
Yeah.
And then that thought hesitates some more. And then all of a sudden, it's a blocker.
And I think, and I'm not using prayer as like a genie in a bottle by any stretch, but I've been praying something really specific over and over again. And when I am, yes, my iCloud is not updated in 157 days because I don't have enough storage, because I don't delete anything, sorry. But this prayer that I've been focusing on, and I shared it a few times, but when I do focus on it, God really meets me there. And it's simple, and I'll put it in the chat again, but it's just, God, I ask for creativity and courage to innovate. Even now in the quiet, would you show me how we can break new ground together? Because if we're asking God to help us break new ground, don't you think he's going to lead you to the ground he wants you to break?
Yeah. And that was in one of the further chapters, he talks about setting, like this is mindset work. And we know that 20% of this business is skill and 80% of it is mindset. And he talks about starting your day with the, like leaders start their day with the right mindset. And so, yeah, I mean, that's part of it, right? Starting your day with God, with quiet intentions. For me, I mean, I don't want this to be an excuse, but the reality is I'm up early and gone early. So that is always my challenge. During the weekdays, I come home. Yes,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Because I like getting up early, but I really struggle with it. What does it look like? Like, I'm not even kidding you, Trisha. If you
What?
had your phone on your counter in the morning and it's like barely any lights on and you're getting yourself going and you're walking back and forth in front of your phone and you're doing whatever, I'm sorry, maybe I'm weird, but I would find that fascinating. Because I look at the time and I'd be like, how does she do that? What's her morning routine when she gets up to do that early? What does that look like? Does she have a plan? How long has she been doing it for? How does this make her successful in her day? All of these things. The things we think are the most meaningless pieces of our day are often the things that people find the most valuable and thought-provoking.
Yeah. My biggest issue is I'm trying to be quiet for everybody. So the talking is really not what I do in the morning.
Don't talk, just like video it with no sound and put a little music behind it and just show us what you do.
Okay, there's an idea. That's what I was going to ask you, Janelle. I mean, we should move on to the last part in just a moment, but what, like, So you said you planned for your lives ahead. Like, what
Like
does
my
that,
stories.
yeah, like, or sorry, yeah, what you talk about? What does that look like? How do you come up with ideas? Like, do they just come and you write it down? Like, that's,
I try to, so you guys know that I am not a planner by nature. Planning is something that has to be done super, super intentionally. But God meets me there too. And so if I try to keep this off until I have a sense, right? I try to do my drink mix up every day, and I don't always talk on it every day because I figure that sometimes maybe I'll have something different to say later on in the day. But I'll just do the mix up of my drink, and I'll put thoughts if I've got thoughts on the screen.
yeah.
And if I'm not, like I said, if I'm not polluting my thoughts with everybody else's like bits, right? Especially don't look at anything political first thing in the morning. Heavens, don't do that. Or something that I've been thinking about. I was like, it would be really great to just turn the video on when I've got people running through my kitchen in the morning, just behind me. I give them always a heads up, right? Like there's a video happening, just do whatever. And if they want to wave to the camera, they wave to the camera. And if not, then they don't, right? And it's just,
And that could be a time lapse too, right? Like, I think Brenda Martin does a lot of those, like just life, time lapse life,
yeah,
then with something
Find it-
inspirational.
people find it interesting, right? And
Yes.
sometimes, honestly, whatever I'm talking about does just come off the top of my head. There are often lives where I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying to you today, but this is kind of what I'm thinking. And then I process as I'm talking. And sometimes it gets chucked and sometimes it stays. And it's fine. And sometimes it's not anything earth-shattering, and other times it is just thoughts, right? Like, and that's the thing. When you talk on social, you find people who actually want to be your friend. If you're not talking and then you want to lead them, this is just, and this is no shade to people who aren't talking, but have you ever considered, like, if you meet somebody on social and they only know you through your social and then they want to join you, but they find you annoying as heck because you've never actually talked to them, they have no way to vet you, right? Like, give them who you are, give them like a you buffet. So then they know. If you give them a you buffet, they might be like, oh my gosh, I want to join that girl. Amy.
That's fascinating and thought provoking and exactly what I needed to hear. Because I was stretching myself and going to spend a little more time on IG to try and find people who are like me. And as I was like, oh, well, they don't talk on their stories at all, and they're just posting on their feed like a good, beautiful IG post should be. Oh, well, I have no idea what they're like, because apparently we've all watched the same IG training, and our is to be about what the piece is. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to start following them to see if I can learn more about them, to see if they are my people.
Right.
And you just explained it all in one little piece. More stories and me talking. It was programming.
Yep.
It's the days
Awesome.
when I have nothing to say where I'm like, whoa, I'm out of alignment with myself. And then I start to panic because I'm like, I don't have any words. What do you mean I don't have any words? What? Anyway, we should move on
Yep.
to the next piece.
Okay, so finishing up, number 3 in the action steps was kind of going through then what would be your top 3 qualities. We want to figure out where we are now, where do I want to go, and how do I bridge that? How do I create a plan to bridge that gap? So I think if we could share one, that would be really great, just to hear what everybody, for me, I think you've gotten that, being more relatable, more posts about life, like just talking, not just posts, but life in general, less informational is one of my goals. And I think in order to do that, I need to do some things that scare me. So being courageous That's my mantra this year. And I feel like in some places I've met it, it's like courage over fear is what I've put at the top of my IPA page all the time. And I did that because I knew I needed to do lives, but it's September. So I need to get going on that goal. Anybody else?
What I'm going to try to do, because I've done it before, and I don't know what, well, I do know why I don't do it, because it's uncomfortable. It makes me feel, ugh, is talking more in my stories. And I've set a goal to do it at least once a week, at least to start, just to get that a little more comfortable with it. And then once I find that once a week is not a problem, then I'll do it a little more, little more, little more.
That's
That's
awesome,
amazing.
Janelle.
Can I give you a seed for your first time when you do it? And you only once. Don't do it again. Just hit the button and say the things and post it, because the more you re-record it, the more awkward it feels, because it's so bad. I'm speaking from experience. Get on your tablet and be like, so I realize I don't talk to people, to my friends like this on my stories. And so this is a challenge I have for myself. So I am challenging you, if you are my friend and you are seeing this video and you don't see me talking on my stories again in the next 3 days or the next 4 days or whatever you want to say, message me and keep me accountable, because I want to get better at sharing my life. And I need people who are here for it. And you can even say, I am going to be bad at this. And you can laugh at yourself and be like, I know I'm going to be really bad at this at the beginning, but it's probably going to get better. So just hang with me, right? You will do so well and you'll be so relatable, and people will be cheering for you. Even if they don't like message you and say we're cheering for you, they will be cheering for you. So that goes for anybody. If you guys don't talk on your stories a whole lot and you know that it will like do the first one, be like, I am setting a challenge for myself to actually talk to my friends here like this many times. It's gonna probably be really bad. So if nothing else, hang around for the humor, because it's coming, right?
Well, even on that note too, I had a friend that we just messaged back and forth on Instagram. And the one time I did a voice message instead of a text, and she was like, it was so nice to hear your voice. So I'm sure everybody else is going to be saying, like, it is so nice to see your face and see your actions and hear your voice. Like, that was amazing. So always keep that in your mind. I got to do that for myself too.
Yeah.
One last one, anybody? If not, we're done.
Anyone want to share one last thing?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll let you off the
I
hook. You
think-
can share in the chat.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks
no.
so much for leading us this morning, Trisha. Loved it. Oh,
You're
sorry, I was gonna say,
welcome.
Sherry said strengths, resilience, empathy, work on being live, talk to people. The best I did was the Reels challenge earlier this year. Yes, I love those challenges. They're awesome. All right, guys.
Janelle, just something, I don't know, maybe in our summer challenge, if we're continuing that.
You have to change it to the fall challenge and get going again. I'm like, it's not summer anymore. We can't call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know if we can come up with some ideas to go live, like do live or recordings of, or I don't know if there's something out there, but just to spark my thought pattern at some point.
Chat GPT. Do that
Chat
too.
GPT.
Chat GPT. What could I talk
Okay.
about on stories today? Try it. You never
Done.
know. But yes, let's put that in. I don't know. I don't know if I want to fall for success. That sounds like a great title for a new challenge group, right? That's awesome. Okay. Have a
Okay.
great day, guys. Thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.